Under President Donald J. Trump's America, while the rest of the country is still rebuilding strength, California is literally shaking apart at the seams. Now, folks, this isn't just another tremor in Nevada. No. We are talking about fault lines cracking, swarms of quakes ripping through the basin and range, and headlines are screaming that the ground itself is splitting open. And at the very same moment, the earth is breaking beneath California. Gavin Newsom's political empire is collapsing just as violently. So think about that. On the one side, you got Mother Nature tearing into the Pacific Ring of Fire. But on the other side, you got a power-hungry governor whose gerrymander scheme just backfired so hard that Republicans are threatening to split the state in two. That's not a coincidence. That is a fault line in politics colliding with a fault line in the earth. Now, here's the question that nobody on the mainstream dares to ask. Is this the big one finally coming, right? Is the big one finally coming, or is the media hyping a natural swarm of desperate way to distract us from Gavin Newsom's failures? Well, I'm gonna let you guys decide for yourself, because in just a second, I'm gonna show you how these cracks in Nevada connect directly to the cracks in California's democracy. And later on, I want to expose exactly how Gavin Newsom is mocking faith itself, prayer in the middle of tragedy, all while telling lies about Trump and bragging about an economy built on sand. Hey guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. So in the middle of President Donald J. Trump's America, and while the rest of America is focused on rebuilding strength, restoring law and order, and putting America back on its feet, California is a tale of collapse. I mean, on the one hand, the literal earth is giving way. Fault lines are cracking. The ground is shaking. Communities are on edge. On the other hand, Gavin Newsom's political empire is falling apart faster than the highways are splitting in Nevada. That is the dual collapse that we're talking about here today, guys. A geological collapse under California's soil and a political collapse under California's governor. Both are happening at the exact same time, and both are exposing just how fragile the foundations really are. This is only the start, to be honest with you guys. So when the ground beneath your feet is splitting, you got no choice but to pay attention. You see, Nevada has been hammered by quake after quake after quake. I mean, just in the last 48 hours, the USGS logged tremors of 3.6, 3.5, 3.2, and 3.3, all clustered around Valmy, Nevada. Now, what are geologists saying about this? That repeated shaking is causing cracks to open up. That is causing the ground itself to split apart along the fault lines. And so now here's the real situation, guys. Is this really the start of the big one? Or is it just another swarm that the media is hyping into fear porn? Well, I'll tell you what, geologists are pointing to the Basin and Range Province. This is a region where the Earth's crust is very thin, it's stretched, and it's constantly shifting. They're reminding us that shallow quakes, these ones only around like 5 miles deep, they hit harder at the surface. And yes, Nevada has a history of major ruptures, including a 6.5 earthquake in 2020 that tore roads apart. But here's the question. Are we seeing the first cracks of a collapse that could ripple into California itself? Or is this just another cycle that's being exaggerated to sell fear? Well, I got two very compelling realities here. Now, on the one side, photos of cracked highways, shaking towns, and the ominous idea that the fault is splitting. But on the other side, scientists are saying, relax, guys. Swarms happen all the time. Don't worry about it. So which do you believe? Is this the beginning of the big one that could rattle the West Coast to its knees, or is this just some noise? Well, this is only the first half of the story, because while Nevada is literally shaking apart, the Pacific Ring of Fire is lighting up around the globe. Gavin Newsom is lighting up a political fire that he can't even put out. I hear it all the time. People tell me the same story at church. A friend of mine leaned over and said, "Hey, Ron, I called Chapter and I found out that my plan wasn't the best for me. They saved me money. Thank you." Another friend says, "Hey, they helped me keep my doctor." Then all of a sudden, the conversation spreads. That is how trust works in communities. And it's not just advertising. It's neighbors helping neighbors. And so this is exactly why I partner with Chapter, because they don't push plans. They uncover options. And when people experience that difference, they can't help but to share it. So let me ask you this, guys. When your friends and church family are already calling Chapter, do you really want to be the only one who hasn't called? Now, most people are already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron on the website. Do not be the last one left out of the conversation. Phone number is 909-563-8279. And it's not just Nevada, guys. The entire Pacific Ring of Fire is alive right now. In just the last 24 hours alone, Alaska just got slammed with a 5.9 earthquake off the Aleutian Islands. Japan recorded 2 separate tremors off of its northeastern coast. And even the Midwest here in America, Missouri and Illinois, they felt the ground shake. All of this comes on the heels of last month's monster 8.8 quake near Kamchatka, Russia, which just so happened to have triggered tsunami warnings across the Pacific. Now, scientists, they warned way back then that the aftershocks could continue for years. And now here we are, barely weeks away or weeks later, watching these fault lines up and down the Pacific Rim light up like a fuse. Guys, so the question is very simple. Are these just some isolated events or are they connected? Now, when you zoom out and you look at the pattern, it almost looks pretty obvious. From Russia to Japan, from Alaska to Nevada, all the way down to the West Coast, the plates are moving. And every time the ground splits in one place, the pressure shifts somewhere else. The Earth is telling us something. Now, while the fear is splitting in the West, Gavin Newsom, he's busy splitting people apart with his words. So after the tragic shooting at a Catholic church in Minneapolis, Americans turned to prayer, as they always have in times of grief. And so what did Gavin Newsom do? Well, he went online and mocked them. He made fun of them. He ridiculed the victims for praying for their final moments. Guys, think about that. What kind of man does that? Millions of Americans, Christian or not, see prayer as a source of comfort, a way to face the unthinkable. But Gavin, he chose that moment to sneer. He doubled down on the same cynical talking points pushed by Democrats like Jen Psaki that prayer doesn't work. That is not leadership, folks. That is cruelty. It's one thing to push for policy change. It's another to openly demean the faith of the very people who you claim to be representing. Right? Even if you're not even religious, you know that mocking people in the middle of a tragedy is a new low. Like, you go to hell for that, in my opinion. Can I get an amen for that? And that's exactly what this governor chose to do. So now I want to turn to Gavin Newsom's power grab in California. His redistricting plan was supposed to cement Democrat dominance by cutting Republican representation down even further. Now remember, Republicans, they already get around 40% of the statewide vote, but they only hold about 17% of the House seats. So under Gavin Newsom's scheme, that number would drop to around 10 or 11%. But instead of consolidating that power, the plan has backfired. Rural Republicans are absolutely furious, and they're openly talking about splitting California into 2 states. Under the so-called 2-state solution, the wealthy coastal regions, the Bay Area, Los Angeles, San Diego, they would become 1 state, while the inland regions, Northern California, the Sierra Nevada, Central Valley, and the Inland Empire would break away as another. Now, this isn't just empty talk, folks. California's constitution actually allows this to happen, although it would require approval from both houses of the legislature and then a statewide vote. Leaders like James Gallagher of Northern California, they say that they have had enough. They're pointing out how water rights and fuel prices and firefighting resources and even the balance between the ranchers and the environmentalists, they're all being dictated by elites in the big cities, leaving rural communities with no voice. Does that sound fair to you? So while Gavin Newsom thinks he's securing his grip on power, he's actually planting the seeds for California's own breakup. This is the same way that the ground is splitting in Nevada. His state is splitting politically right down the middle. This isn't the only place where Newsom is at war with his own citizens. I mean, after years of soft-on-crime policies that turned California into a complete shoplifter's paradise, voters passed Prop 36 to roll back their lenient rules. The message was very clear. Californians, they want tougher penalties back. They do. Now, if you're from California, drop me a quick comment down below. Let me know what city in California you're watching from. The message is very clear. Californians, they want tougher penalties back, and they want law and order, period. But Gavin Newsom, he refuses to implement it. His excuse? The state doesn't have the money. This is coming from the same governor who found $50 billion to Trump-proof California by locking in progressive programs designed to fight President Trump's policies. So he'll spend billions to wage political war, but he won't spend it to protect his own people from criminals. Does that make any sense to you guys? So the result has been predictable. Retail theft spiraled, stores shut their doors, communities felt abandoned, and Newsom just shrugs it off, sacrificing public safety for his own political ambitions. It's a pattern that runs through everything he does, choosing personal power over the well-being of the very people he's supposed to serve. So, if you look even closer, even liberals are starting to call Gavin Newsom out. On his own show, Bill Maher told Gavin Newsom directly that he's been too divisive, that he seems intent on fueling a red state versus blue state fight. Now, Maher said he doesn't want to live in a civil war, and a lot of Americans agree with him. Do you agree with Bill Maher or do you agree with Gavin Newsom? But Gavin Newsom thrives on stoking division because without constant fights, he has nothing to run on. And at the same time, he's fabricating these stories to make himself look like a world player. At a Politico conference, Newsom claimed that foreign leaders have been calling him, saying that they're laughing behind Donald Trump's back. Really? He even had to hedge himself mid-sentence, okay? Saying, not this delegation, not that delegation, because he knew that he was stretching the truth. He knew he was basically blatantly lying. Meanwhile, under President Trump, the results speak for themselves. NATO allies have agreed to raise defense spending from 2% to 5% of GDP. Trade deals are funding relief at home. Trump delivers real-world outcomes while Gavin Newsom is obsessed with clout on social media and these sound bites that vanish the moment that they're fact-checked. So there's a stark contrast. You got one man building, the other one's tearing down. One government for results, the other one's performing for likes. Now, one of Gavin Newsom's favorite tactics is to twist numbers until they mean almost nothing. All right. He likes to say that 8 of the top 10 murder states in America are red states. Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty bad. But here's what he leaves out. 19 of the 20 most violent cities are run by Democrats. Wow. That's like almost 100%. So here's a real critical point. When a blue city sits in a blue state, like San Francisco under Gavin Newsom, the governor's policies directly shape the outcomes. Lenient laws, soft sentencing, district attorneys refusing to prosecute, those decisions, they come from the top. But when a blue city sits inside of a red state, and the mayor and the city council choose to go soft on crime even when the state maintains tough policies, then that's on the city. That's not on the governor. Now, Gavin Newsom's conveniently skipping over this distinction. The same goes for his brag about California being the world's 4th largest economy. He makes it kind of sound like his policies created this level of success. But the truth is, California's wealth actually comes from its natural advantages. It's got nearly perfect climate, stunning geography, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, the same beauty and the same ease of living that attracts it attracts billionaires who want to live there. It also attracts the nation's largest homeless population. So policy doesn't really match. The policy doesn't make California rich, is what I'm trying to say. Policy actually made California unlivable for ordinary people. The middle class cannot live in California. Who can afford as a middle class person a $3 million house with 3 bedrooms in it? Only 3 bedrooms for like $3 million. Can anybody afford that? Yes or no? So that's the real story behind the numbers of Gavin Newsom that he's bragging about. It's not leadership. This is spin. Look at what's happening side by side. In Nevada, the ground is literally splitting, fault lines cracking, the crust under strain, quakes hitting one after another. And in California, Gavin Newsom's political empire is splitting too, torn apart by his own arrogance and ambition. The symbolism couldn't be any clearer. The big one isn't just seismic, it's political. When leaders stop serving their people and start serving themselves, when they mock faith in times of tragedy, when they strip away representation from millions of voters, their empire usually crumbles. That's usually what happens after all that. So just like the earth beneath Nevada, it doesn't happen all at once. It started with a little crack, a comment here, a policy there, right up until the whole structure gives way. That is where Gavin Newsom is right now. The cracks are showing and the collapse is underway. So here we are, guys. President Trump is leading America forward, rebuilding strength and restoring credibility. Meanwhile, California faces collapse in 2 fronts. The earth itself is shaking under its feet, and a governor whose empire is crumbling under the weight of its own failures. The big one is no longer just a theory. This is a reality that we're watching unfold both on the ground and in politics. Now, it's up to you to decide what all of this really means. Are these cracks in Nevada a warning sign of something bigger to come? And are the cracks in Gavin Newsom's empire proof that his time as a political star is finished? Drop your thoughts and comments down below. Now, if you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because the collapse that we're seeing in California, it's only the beginning. And you deserve to know exactly what's going to come next. And listen, YouTube thinks that they know your interests better than anyone. This is why the video that's being suggested to you right now, right here, is pretty confident that YouTube believes that you're going to enjoy it. So don't miss that video. Click that, watch that video immediately, and it ties directly into what we just covered, and it goes way deeper. We'll see you on the other side.